Here are 15 of the best Ask Reddit stories for today. I hope you enjoy and remember to subscribe. It really helps us out. We post new videos every day.
What's the worst pain you have personally experienced? I'll start. I broke my arm when I was younger, full on in half, bent funny, broken, but it was a clean break, no fragments. The doctor obviously needed to set it. It wasn't so bad that it was a do it right now to keep your arm bad though. So I was given the choice to either wait 24 hours from that moment, no eating, and be put under anesthesia, or do it now, no pain meds. I figured F it. I just broke my arm, how much worse could it be? Doctor came in with 3 nurses, plaster, and a towel. My dad held his hand out for me to squeeze. I remember him saying, "Okay, you are much braver than I am." They gave me the towel to bite down on, and then 2 nurses bent my arm back, 1 nurse held my legs down, and the doctor began wrapping my arm in plaster. Worst 10 minutes of my life. I could feel my arm stressing against the inside of the cast for days.
What crazy story do you need to tell? A little while back, my roommate was contacted by a wealthy man in the area who wanted to pay her to be his live-in pet for an entire month. She thought that this was the cutest way of saying that it was a sugar daddy, baby arrangement. The girl really wanted the money as well. This allowance would have covered her college tuition for the semester. So she considered the offer for a weekend, and went to the apartment of the wealthy man. Turns out what he actually meant was that she would be given room, board, and a very healthy allowance to spend a large portion of her day dressed as a cat, walking on her hands and knees, eating out of a bowl, using a litter box, and, yes, sleeping in a little cage at night. Sex wasn't even on the table. He was only interested in having a human cat for a month. She asked him why he want this. He said, "I have always dreamt of this since kid. And I think now's the time to fulfill dreams." He knew what he wanted and was very motivated. She accepted the offer because she thought that this is easy money. But when the month ended, she said that this was way more difficult.
What simple life hack should everyone know? Get into a routine of stretching your hip flexors and chest if you sit for long periods. Absolute game changer for people who suffer with chronic lower back pain as a result of being hunched over a desk. If you have trouble choosing, flip a coin. While you're waiting to get the result, your mind automatically starts to wish for what it wants. Then you can choose easily. Don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. In a lot of daunting situation, for example asking someone out or standing up for yourself, you only need to be brave for a few seconds to get it over with. If there's a jar or container you can't open, run the lid under hot water for 30 seconds. Dry it so you can get a good grip, then open. Never had this not work. Some pretty good stuff on here. Most of the time keeping your mouth shut is a great option. If you put something down temporarily, say out loud, "I've put the screwdriver by the microwave," or whatever. This engages many more areas of the brain, particularly the language centers, which creates a richer memory, making it less likely you'll forget where you put it. Brush your teeth more thoroughly.
What crazy story do you need to tell? A little while back, my roommate was contacted by a wealthy man in the area who wanted to pay her to be his live-in pet for an entire month. She thought that this was the cutest way of saying that it was a sugar daddy, baby arrangement. The girl really wanted the money as well. This allowance would have covered her college tuition for the semester. So she considered the offer for a weekend, and went to the apartment of the wealthy man. Turns out what he actually meant was that she would be given room, board, and a very healthy allowance to spend a large portion of her day dressed as a cat, walking on her hands and knees, eating out of a bowl, using a litter box, and, yes, sleeping in a little cage at night. Sex wasn't even on the table. He was only interested in having a human cat for a month. She asked him why he want this. He said, "I have always dreamt of this since kid. And I think now's the time to fulfill dreams." He knew what he wanted and was very motivated. She accepted the offer because she thought that this is easy money. But when the month ended, she said that this was way more difficult.
What is the last thing you want to hear from a pilot? Ladies and gentlemen, I have good news and bad news. The good news is you're all gonna be on TV tonight. Hello, this is your captain speaking. My co-pilot has bet me I can't do a barrel roll in this plane. He is about to lose $5. Brace for impact. This is my last flight, but I'm not retiring. You may want to call your families and tell them you love them. To the flight crew, this is what we've been training for. Brace for impact in approximately 3 minutes. Oh man, that acid's kicking in fast. If you look off into the right, you'll see we're flying over the house of the asshole that stole my wife. Why don't we pay him a little visit? Is there anyone on board with flying experience? It has come to my attention that there are chimpanzees attacking the passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to do a crash landing. Do not be alarmed, this is my first landing too. No need to worry about using your cellular devices. It won't matter soon enough anyway. Is that a box cutter?
When do you expect Russians to be in the middle, in the center of Kiev?
Never.
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 What's the love, y'all?
People killing, people dying, children hurt and even crying. When you practice what you preach, and what you turn the other cheek. Father, 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 help us. Send some guidance from above. These people got me questioning. Where is the love? Where is my love?
What's something you know, but you really shouldn't? When my wife gave birth, the room seemed unusually warm enough to where I thought I may vomit or faint, but maybe I was having nerves from pending fatherhood. After, the doctor handling the delivery cussed out the attending nurses beside the nursery, because the room temperature was at 89 when it should have been around the mid-60s. I walked out from the nursery after hearing most of what was being said on the sentence, if the mother or a baby ends up with an infection or worse, they are going to own this fucking hospital because of your fuck up. I ended up looking at them and said, that's good to know. Since my wife and kids are fine, I won't know the pleasure of owning a hospital, but I don't have to know the pain of medical malpractice. That my old boss was banging the office secretary. They were both married to other people. Think she knew I knew. I wish they stopped giving me clues. What are things that women do better than men? Enduring the ravages of long-term spaceflight, women lose muscle mass slower than men. There are video examples of female astronauts walking after re-entry when their male crew members have to be carried due to muscle atrophy. Dealing with blood coming out of your genitals. They have a higher probability to survive starvation than men. See color. Generally women are more able to fine-tune their perception of color with higher accuracy. They're generally more flexible and are better long-distance swimmers. Our clitoris has 16 times more nerve receptors than a whole sword. After orgasm, the delicious bonding hormones continue to run through our bodies for 4 days, unlike a man who only gets 2 hours. Give birth. Women tend to have better hearing than men and are less likely to experience hearing loss with age. Also, when women do experience hearing loss, they tend to navigate it better, disclosing the problem and offering workarounds.
What's the most uncomfortable question you can ask someone? Hey, can we have a talk about your search history? Where's my hug? Do you have a sister by chance? How come I wasn't invited? Doctor, in front of parents. Are you sexually active? What kind of debt are you in? Why does everyone hate you so much? What color underwear are you wearing right now? Are you uncomfortable? What do you think of me? A non-pregnant woman, how far along she is? Some dude to me on Discord, how big? Are you our boobs? I'm a guy. Where'd you get that watch, while you're standing next to someone at the urinal? Have you ever considered plastic surgery? To a teenager, so are your pubes fully grown? What's that on your teeth? What was your last shit like? So, how do you wipe your ass? Do you know that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell? What is the greatest comeback to an insult you've ever heard? You dress like a grandpa, that's why your mom calls me daddy.
How did you lose your virginity? Lost it in a movie theater when we saw no one else was in there. Didn't know the staff could see us on camera, so they moaned at us when we walked out and I ran out of the theater so fast. Ended up waiting to get picked up in the rain because I was so embarrassed. A girl caught my eye at a college dance. I had previously spoken to her once before and complimented her Zelda shirt. I talked to her all evening, then invited her back to my apartment to show her Breath of the Wild, which had just come out. We play until 5 in the morning. I regretted not making a move. I invited her over for Zelda again the next evening and we stayed up until 5 in the morning doing something different. Me and my girlfriend told our archery coach that my mom wanted me home early and she was my ride. We snuck into the Arby's parking lot and went in the back seat of her Nissan Rogue. In the parking lot of a Fazoli's right after church because my Catholic girlfriend felt bad about doing it before church. Lol. Back of her parents' van, in a Walmart parking lot. Black Eyed Peas were playing on the radio. Makes me laugh every time I think.
What is the scariest thing you have witnessed with your own eyes? Saw an old man slip and die at a bus stop in Portland early in the morning when I was a teenager. That was sad, but what really shook me was the way he was picked up by an ambulance. The sidewalk was washed off, and they left. Within 15 minutes people were occupying that space waiting for a bus, and it was like it had never happened. A job I used to work at, my boss had a heart attack in his office and died in the middle of the shift. The office lights were motion activated, so we thought he left to go somewhere as it was dark. I went into the office to get a new radio and there he was, leaned back in his chair with his eyes wide open. Scariest thing I've ever seen.
What's the worst date you ever had? I talked to a girl on Tinder 8 years ago. She got drunk and told me to come over because her and friends were playing strip poker. I was on overnight duty, so sadly I could not partake. 30 minutes later I receive a picture on my phone that I couldn't even make out. I handed my phone to my roommate and asked if he could figure it out. He says, dude, that's a bull. It surely was. She had taken a picture of her bull from at measly 0.5 inches away and it was so close up I could barely tell what it was. I thought to myself, if this is how she leads, the rest has to be great. She tells me we should finally meet next weekend, at Applebee's. I meet her there and she looks beat, like she had just run 5 triathlons and been awake for a week straight. Not 3 minutes into meeting and sitting down she says she has to use the restroom. She doesn't come back for 30 minutes. The waiter comes up and says he has seen her here multiple times and she has been known to shoot up high in the bathroom and pass out. I'm very not into this at this point, but for her own safety I ask if a waitress could peek in the bathroom and see if she is okay. She was not. She OD'd and died. So that was a thing.
What are some skinny people problems? I used to be fat as F. Now I'm skinny and the most apparent difference is I get cold much faster. Doesn't matter how I layer up. People making a circle with their fingers around your wrists. It hurts to sit too long. Always having to sit in the middle seat of the car. People call you weak all the time. Being bony and sharp when being hugged. My grandmother calling me the ambassador of world hunger.
Former undercover cops. What is the craziest thing you had to do to not blow your cover? My cousin was an undercover ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives agent. Anyway, they were trying to bust some guys for illegal alcohol distribution and were building a rapport by going undercover. My cousin doesn't take his ATF badge with him when he's undercover because if anyone ever saw it, he could even get shot. He just waited in the car for like an hour and found some good guys to talk to. He walked out of the car towards them and was trying to get some evidence, and some hot-headed black and white cops came over and started harassing them. My cousin couldn't blow his cover. So he was just trying to get out of the situation, but pretty soon the police started getting physical and they beat crap out of my cousin and the guys he is trying to get evidence from. They take them all into the police station only to find out that my cousin is ATF agent. My cousin was pissed because cops aren't supposed to beat people up. He is currently filing a lawsuit against that police department.